listening to Resilient and Rowdy. I'm your host, Jess James. Tune in to hear unfiltered discussions and stories of the bold and the brave. So kick back and enjoy some R&R. Hey guys, it's your host, Jess, and this is the Resilient and Rowdy podcast. Today I have Daphne, a fitness entrepreneur, and I'm just gonna have to highlight this amazing woman here. So, Daphne, thank you for joining. And
thank you for having
hello.
me. Hi.
How are you doing this week? How was your weekend?
Oh, it was good. It was actually super chilled. I dressed up as Catwoman for Halloween, and I just put on my costume to actually like put it on. I didn't do anything special, but I was like, they're gonna see this there.
Yeah. Okay. You're at least, you're a little festive. I dig it to an extent. I went all out and yikes. I had to kick some motherfuckers out of my house. I was like, not in my house.
That's how you're supposed to do it, though. Like, I should have done it that way, but I was like, I can't.
Yeah, you dressed up. I channeled Godzilla bitch. So, anyways, I'm sorry. We're talking about you. So, Daphne, dude, like I told you earlier, I, peeped you on all the social medias, and I just really admire your strength, your vulnerability, just the way that you put yourself out there, and your consistency. I really, really admire that. And I just want to highlight that, like, why you do what you do and what got you from this point, or from the point before to now, because I feel like you definitely had a glow up. Like there was a switch up, and you were like, you know what, I got to do this for me. So I think that you can definitely have something really cool to share if you'd like to share that with us.
Yeah, I guess if we're starting like from the beginning, like I'm from the South, essentially born in Georgia, and that's where I was raised. I think I was fortunate enough to be in a diverse area. So I feel like Duluth, even though some people are like, oh, it's the suburbs, I think considering being in Georgia, it is in Gwinnett County, which is the most diverse county in the state of Georgia. And I think Duluth was sort of reflective of that. And so being able to see a lot of different kinds of people from, I feel like, an early age, because I talked to like a lot of different people. They're like, man, like I didn't see all that. And I'm like, that's not normal. So to grow up in a very diverse area, even though for me, it felt like it wasn't enough, but recognizing that that was something that was really important, that shaped me to be who I am, because I just kind of vibe with any and everybody because of that. And then even going to VCU, so Virginia Commonwealth University, that was diversity on a whole nother scale, because that's actually like a fine arts school, and a really good art school. And so with an art school comes like all the art people. And I love the art people, and they're amazing people, but it was just seeing a mixture of everybody again. And even though it was in Richmond, Virginia, which if you stepped outside of that bubble, got a little weird, but being in the bubble, I think it helped, because it allowed me to see different perspectives and understand different people on a different level. And I think that's why I do what I do now, because I've interacted with so many different types of people, and I realized that as much as like I don't need you, like we do need each other. Like humans are very so interconnected, and I think that we just have to continue to help each other and continue to push each other forward. And no matter how hard it gets, like there has to be some light that like draws us all in to keep moving forward. And that's what I truly just try to be. So that's like me, like saying like diversity, what? Like, no, like I believe strongly and wholeheartedly in that. And that's how we stay strong and how we continue to grow and become better people, is if we acknowledge each other's like differences, and then like rock with each other because of that, and then stay positive and hype about those things. Because if we all just talk about all the negative things, all the bad stereotypes and connotations that comes with being in different spaces, like it's gonna be whack. So like, let's do that.
Absolutely. You sound like such a social butterfly, and I love that. I really admire that. And I feel that, but at certain points, I feel like I definitely get drained. But I do want to note that your perspective about different groups of people, different paths and journeys and all of that, is something that really needs to be portrayed, and I think maybe even suggested to other folks. I feel like since I moved back to the South, it seems to be like everyone's just at opposing perspectives, and
Yeah.
we get nowhere if it's just that. So what you were saying was basically like, hey, let's find some common ground. And that
Mhm.
common ground is you hear me out, I hear you out. Let's, instead of
Mhm.
bickering and fighting and saying that one or the other is wrong, it's more of like, hey, what can we do with this? How can we come together and like, build something, make something of this? I was talking to one of my previous like army colleagues, and I kind of suggested the same thing. Like, complaining only gets you so far, and bickering and moaning and stuff like that. Like, yeah, sometimes you just got to do it and let it out.
Mhm.
But sometimes it does more harm than good. You're like almost like speaking out these things into existence. So trying to overcome a lot of these difficult thoughts or perspectives or feelings, I have to challenge those what ifs, those should haves, and all of that. So I'm like, hey, no, you're not serving me. Let's cut it out. So let's cut out the complaining. Let's put some words into action and let's move forward. If we don't like this, then let's move along. Like, we don't have to be stuck in this little bubble that is not bringing us any like good. But
Right.
how was basketball like? Because we got to talk about, how's basketball
How's
like
well?
like a foundation for you, because I think that was something you were really passionate about, and
Mhm.
also maybe something that you kind of had to enjoy and pursue different things. And I think that that's something that you can admire in a person, being
Mhm.
multifaceted. But I do want to highlight that, because I mean, you're pretty fucking good. So
Yeah, so I think basketball, it helped me tremendously, but it also hurt me at the same time. And so I'll talk about how it helped me first. I think that's what allows me to be so consistent. So I played basketball for, I believe, 12 years. Like, so at this point, like the majority of my life, or at a certain point, it was the majority of my life. And it
mm,
was knowing that if I just kept going at it, I would get better. I would get better. And that just instilled a tremendous amount of work ethic in me of like never giving up, because there were times where like there was a point my mom was threatening like to take away my jersey because she was like, do you even want to like play anymore? And sometimes I just didn't want to go to tournaments. I wasn't performing well. Like, it was a lot of different things, because then there's that anxiety of, well, if I don't do this, like, what's next for me? Because I don't have generational wealth. Like, my parents, they're not wealthy. That's not a thing for me. So it was, if I don't do this, I don't get the education that I need to continue to be successful. So there was, as much as I loved the game, there was also that pressure to like be good. And
mhm,
so I just kept getting after it, and like I was in love very much so with the game at the time. And I just was blessed that not only did basketball teach me like how to work hard, it also like, with me being like tall, like I'm 6'1", I'm a brown skin girl, like I stood out like a sore thumb. That was a space for me to have people who understood what I was going with. Like, my best friends were my height. Like, they
yeah.
the way that I saw the world. So it was just great to have, and it taught me a lot of important life lessons. And but I think at the same time, the way that it hurt me is that once I stopped, I was like, well, what is my life? Like, I had no identity. I didn't know what to do anymore. I was like,
Mm,
well, I know I don't want to play overseas because like my knees are all jacked up, and like, if you guys know anything about women's sports, it doesn't pay anything. So I was like, I'm not about to uproot myself to go to a completely other country where like I know I could play overseas, but if I'm not on a top team, I'm not going to make a lot of money. So I don't want to waste my time doing this. So it was like figuring out like, who was I all over again at 23 years old.
mm,
And that was a struggle. I think it was something I struggled with honestly until about 28. Like, it was just going through different jobs and trying different things until I realized like who I truly was. Because if it wasn't like, when people saw me, they knew me from basketball. Like, that was it.
yeah.
And I, with like having to play like Division 1 basketball, you don't have time for anything else. So I didn't have any outside friends. I wasn't partying. Like, what was a social life? Didn't have
Mhm,
one.
yeah.
Even in college, like I did have a social life. College was where I actually started finally getting a social life, made sure that I had
Mhm,
friends outside of the sport. So that helped as well. But most of
mhm,
my friends were athletes. So they all were going through the same things that I was going through. But it was just, that was still my everything and my only thing. And not to say that my mom didn't be like, have hobbies, but like there was like, there's no space for hobbies. So getting out of school and not having basketball anymore was like, well, what do I like to do? Sleep. Let's go to bed. And it's like, you can't just sleep all the time. Like, you got to figure out something else that you can actually do. So, as much as I think it was incredible, and I would give my life for that game. Like, I know that I would not be the person I am without it. But I also feel like I'm mature enough to also recognize how it hindered me in certain aspects of my life. And like, I wouldn't say it necessarily held me back, but I think it just kind of misconstrued how I viewed some things. So, an example, hard work beats talent. Like, that's what I had been taught my entire life, because I wasn't the best basketball player. I just worked my ass off the entire time. So like, I was just putting in work, and that's how I got my playing time. That's how I got my scholarship. That's how even in college, like, I got more playing time. Like, I was a work dog.
Yeah.
But also, in my mind, it modeled that, okay, well, if I do the work, I get the reward. If I do the work, I get the reward. And so that was just how I was living my life. And then I got into corporate and was like, I did the work. Where's my reward? Like, why do we continue to move goalposts here? And why does this jackass over here, who's not doing anything, why are they getting the reward that I think that I deserve, because I'm the one who actually put in the work? So I feel like that's like an example of how like it hindered me in that way, because it took me a long time to understand that things aren't just cut and dry. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter. Well, now it matters to me, but it doesn't matter how hard you work in certain situations. Just because you work hard doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get what you think you deserve.
Yeah.
When that's like my whole life, that I was like, well, if you work for it, you'll get it. And I was like, yeah, because it was happening. And then as I became a more mature adult, it wasn't. So I was like, what is this? This ain't right.
Right. I think that makes me want to add that I feel like there's certain institutions and industries that profit off of the illusion of that rat race. But that's what you have. You have that grind. And I'm really glad that you mentioned how, like, the self-awareness that you have that I'm listening to right now is incredibly humbling. You keep it real. And I'm glad that you were just brutally honest about it, because it got you to, like, basketball got you to where you needed to be, but also like you can also see like where the pros and cons are. So I mean, I was going to ask you, how was life in college, like balancing all of that, but knowing that you had to struggle with a lack of a social life, building it, expanding your wings and stuff, but also just like still being held back by something that you have to consistently work for to keep your spot, to keep your place, keep your scholarship. Like, so that's why I again, that must have been really hard. And I also wanted to ask, like, were you able to get passionate or interested in any of your studies, or was it kind of like basketball and then like, whatever you chose, like whatever for some people it's kind of like you get a degree and at least like you have your bachelor's degree. Like, again, we grew up in the South, like, you get your MRS degree or whatever that means. So like a lot of people kind of just settled, but I kind of don't want to say that you settled, but I am curious, like, what were your studies like? And what was it like being in, again, like you mentioned, like a liberal arts school, like a very creative school. So it's like you have very artistic and very athletic. How do those things like come together in your life?
So I think, I just got the degree because I was like, okay, this is the degree I can get. I didn't, because even like when I graduated, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. But I think like it's actually smart, because I would say like now, like I'm 30. So like now is like the first time in my life I'm like actually using my degrees, which is like, because this whole time I've been like, man, college is a scam. Like, don't pay for college. Like, if you're going to go, make sure somebody's going to pay for it. And so like, that's what I did. Like, so I got my bachelor's in mass communications with a focus on like PR, and then a business minor. And then I got my master's where I was a grad assistantship or assistant. So that was partially paid for, but that was in sports business. So everything was, if not like marketing and talking to people, it was business. So at the time I was just an ungrateful little shit. Like I was just like, man, it is what it is. Like I'm just gonna get the degree. People were trying to play me and say like, like a mass comm degree is like super easy. Like that's the easy degree that people pick. And I'm like, y'all not know the number of papers that I have to write? And I don't even like to write. So like this is stupid. And there would be like I would have to do like different like interviews and different deadlines that sometimes I would have to miss and like ask for an extension for because how am I going to be like on a road on an away game and you expect me to go interview somebody? Like that just doesn't I can't do that. So I think at the time, like I just didn't appreciate it. It was just like going through the motions because I was very like I experienced a lot of anxiety just being in college and being like a basketball player. Cause like you said, like working to keep my scholarship, like that was like the number one thing is like I don't want to give them a reason to like take my scholarship. And like mind you, like there were things that happened that like they easily could have taken it away. Like nothing like crazy that like I was wild, but like example, there was like rules that you couldn't have like facial piercings. I had my nose pierced, and they were like, "Well, what are you doing? Like you're breaking the rules." I mean, for smart reasons, because getting that elbow to the face or a ball to the face is pretty common. So like it was for my own safety, but like I didn't care.
Right. Yeah.
Just being one of those people. But I think it wasn't until now that I truly appreciate my education because of what I do now in my business coaching. I'm realizing how much I take for granted that I know. Like, example, in college, that's how I learned how to use the entire Adobe Creative Suite. So, like, with my mass comm, but that to me was like, I wasn't that good at it anyway, but like, and then even like, so in school, that's where I learned it. In my grad assistantship, that's where I used it. And then now people lucky now there's Canva, but like now, like if I needed to do something more detailed on my own, like I can even use Final Cut, like stuff like that, where Premiere, where people are just like, they have no idea. And to be able to teach somebody that or let them know like, hey, like it's a lot easier
than you think it is. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I feel like because sometimes if it's too complicated, it kind of loses people. But also, I think some folks don't kind of make it complicated maybe on purpose. But then you are here, Miss Hype Woman, to like break it down Barney style and be like, hey, you are capable. You can do this. And yeah, you're right. Most folks don't really understand how like a big company like that can also have, smaller free applications, free programs that are the exact same thing. And you just think you're just doing this, but really you're like,
right.
So yeah. Yeah, but I really appreciate your brutal honesty on how like, you said that you took your education for granted. Like, I mean, being able to reflect on that and say that about you, like I say that about me. I'm like, I was a spoiled little brat and I was used to just getting whatever the fuck I wanted, and that's not how it works. So yeah, it just like it makes me smile. It's like, yes, someone is embracing growth and change, and I'm just like, oh my god, yeah, it's a nice breath of fresh air. But so after college and after your studies, what did you know what you wanted to do, or like, because again, there was that switch up. So what was it? Did something
something happened.
Good or bad?
Bad, of course. Bad, of course. Come on now. If it was good, would I have left? But no, so it started, my first corporate job, I actually worked at Career Builder. And I got that position because through my grad assistantship, I met a really good friend and he was a recruiter. And he was like, hey, I think you would be really, really good at this job. Like, it's about you like talking to people and asking people a bunch of questions. They're not looking for anybody with experience. I think this would be great for you. So that's where I became a UX research coordinator. And like, so I am like high key, like a nerd. Like I love all of the techie shit. Like I'm just, it gets me going. So it was just really cool because to have a job out of college where I'm working at this like huge corporation, and then I get to work with developers, designers, project managers, like a lot of different types of people that in a field that I didn't even like know about, that I knew I wanted to be in IT. So I got to learn a lot about websites because UX is user experience. And so I literally just studied it. So we would study like how are people interacting with like the hamburger menu, or how many clicks is it taking somebody to get to the actual job posting, like stuff like that. I was fascinated. So I was there and I got to learn a ton, and I'm still like friends with some of the people that I met from that job to this day. I am grateful for that job, but that job was the first instance of somebody not even recognizing my talent, my education, and the first step of me like, you know what, this isn't for me. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it started because other people were already leaving, and then I was like, you know what, like I might try to stay because this might be the opportunity for me to get a promotion. Like who knows? But when my boss was like, he didn't even know I had a master's degree. He's like, he completely downplayed it. He was like, what even degree do you have? And I was just like, how do you not know that I have a master's degree? Like, I understand it's not in HTCI, so it's not in like human. I don't even remember the acronym for that anymore. But whatever the IT like UX master's degree is, just because I don't have that doesn't mean I don't understand this. At this point, I had been doing the job I had been doing for about a year. So like I've learned a lot. I'm a very fast learner. And so for you to just be dismissive of my education, of course it was an older white male, and he had got his karma way down the line after I left. But that was the first instance of understanding that there was more I can do and people were taking advantage of it. So I left there, and then I became a recruiter because I was like, well, I studied these people. I understand what their life is like. And because I had worked in the industry that I worked in, I specifically did digital marketing and IT. So obviously my own marketing background and then the IT background, I was like, I know I can find these people. I understand the language. I can talk to these people, get them jobs. And it was like, and I can help people at the same time because especially with those types of jobs, you're talking about changing somebody's quality of life. And that's what I was going and doing. And I should have known because the first week I got there, all of my management quit. So should have known then, but I was like, you know what? Like I'm the type of person that I'm like borderline toxic positivity. I'm like right underneath it. But I was like, no, like it was the opportunity for me to step up, become a leader, like close more deals, all of these things. And so I was like, cool. Let me go ahead and do this. Like I'm not gonna back down for a challenge. Like I live for this shit. And so that just got really bad really quick. Like to this day, like if I hear the Gmail alert, like I will like I got like PTSD from that shit. Like it freaked me the fuck out.
Damn.
Because there were just so many emailers and they expected you to answer like immediately. And then there was all the reporting, all the things. And there was just, I had been there about 2 years and had a partner. So there was no recruiting manager. There was me. I was the team lead. And then there was a sales manager. And so we were supposed to work together. But what it ended up being was me covering his ass a lot. And it got to the point where management would ask stupid ass questions like, well, why do they only have positive things to say about you, but bad things to say about him? Why the fuck is that even a question? Like, because so they thought I essentially was trying to turn the entire office against him versus the factual information of he was showing up to work late. He wasn't helping his team. His team was coming to me to get answers. I was closing deals by myself because he was MIA. Then we went to like a leadership, I guess, like conference. And that's when everything just pretty much imploded. And I got cornered. And it's kind of out of context. I will say this, but like just when you hear this as a person of color, there's only kind of like one way you can take it. And my manager at the time had just said like, you know, there's no room for people like you here. And I was just like, people like me, like, and in his context, it was more so like people who don't blindly protect their partners and are like 100% in on the company and all this stuff. But on my perspective, it was just like someone like me, because also where I was at, there was a sign like Trump was in office. It was like collusion kings. And there were different things where there were like some subtle, like racist things that were happening. And I was just like, so there's no room for people like me, like Black women who are in leadership, because there were none. So I fully recognize that I took it out of context, but like, how am I supposed to take that if I'm in like the back corner and you're telling me this? And so it was after he said that, I just, mind you, this was like in the morning because he was like leaving to go to some meeting. I walked out, I called my mom, I was like, I'm quitting. I was like, I can't do this. Like, cause it was after this whole story of they thought I was lying about something I wasn't lying about. And then my partner threw me under the bus because he was lying about it and I wasn't. Like it was a mess. And it was just like they want me to work so much. They pay me so little. Like I'm very big on numbers. Like I'm not good with math, to be clear, but I use data. Let me say that I'm very big on data to prove. Like if I tell somebody like I want something, I'm not just gonna be like because I deserve it. No, like I will back it up. So I had like run the whole report, had run all the numbers, and let them know like why I deserve to be like a manager instead of a team lead. Because when you're team lead, you have to lead the team and still perform at the same level as the team. I couldn't do that anymore. And they had just let somebody else like move out of her team lead role, even though she hadn't hit her quota, all this stuff. And then so I came to them, I was like, hey, my team is outperforming like this person, this person, this person. I'm outperforming this person, this person, this person. And they were like, no. And so I was like, I can't. Then so you have that, then you have like the shitty like trip that we had, and then like being cornered. There was like a point where like they dictated a text message from my phone. Like it was just hella toxic. And I was like, I can't be here. Like I can't do this. And so I quit. Called my mom, told her I was gonna quit. Flew back home. My mom asked me again, like, are you sure? The morning of, like, I went early because I was always like the dedication, man. I was always the first one in the office. I was getting there early. So I went early, cleared my shit, sent an email to HR. I said, hey, if anybody wants to talk to me, only communicate to me through HR. Cause I blocked everybody. I was like, I can't do this. And from there, I just was going to the gym. Cause that mind you, like I had gotten chunky, like it was just bad. Like my mental health was like in the garbage. The girl had a snack drawer, it was lit, like all the things. But I just really like started going ham and was in the gym again, and I just fell back in love with working out. And I was like, man, like I really, this makes my like heart like sing. Like I feel a way about this, and I want to figure out how I can like transfer this to other people. And so that's how I became a personal trainer. And the cycling part happened just because, and one of my really good friends, like she went through this experience with me, like at the corporate job. And I'm like thankful that every day that even though I broke up with the company, like I didn't break up with her. Like we actually, I think I took my first like real cycling class like with her, or like second, something like that. But I just kept going to cycling classes with her. And one of the instructors was like, man, like your energy, you should be an instructor. And I was like, all right. And I did it. Yes. I did it.
That's awesome. Well, first and foremost, I'm so sorry that you had to go through something like that. But I mean, girl, you are so strong and so resilient. And, you know, a lot of people would have, you know, given up at the first red flag. But I see how you want to be solution based and like work and team oriented. And I hate that so much when you try to speak up, speak truth. And because honestly, like when you work in those types of jobs, you have to be able to pull your weight in the team. And if there's someone that's not pulling their weight, sorry, dude, not sorry, actually. So you have to be an asset, not a liability, not a crutch. And yeah, there's just no nice way to put it. And, you know, honestly, some folks don't like people that speak up about bad shit that they're trying to get away with, or bad behavior, or slimy behavior that they're hoping to get away with, being manipulative and controlling. So people don't like folks that try to call stuff out. And that's, again, something that I admire about you. Like, we have to do, it sounds so corny, but we have to do the right thing. Like, clearly we're seeing how you fail when you're not. So clearly the solution is right there in front of you, but no one wants to do it. No one has the balls to really ignite that change. And unfortunately, it sucks when you are outnumbered. But you know what? Here, you took this situation. You knew that you deserved more. Again, you said that you put in so much time and you're not getting that money. And I'm just like, girl, hello. So get that bag. You didn't know how you were going to do it, but you were like, I'm more than this and I'm done. So I'm so glad that you had your mom to just be there for you and your friend by your side. But look at you now. Like it ignited this new passion. And that's what I honestly, I thought that you had gotten your undergrad as like something in sports medicine, or maybe something to go along with basketball. I wasn't sure,
Mhm.
but the fact that you have, you're just doing it all, and I love that. Like,
Yeah.
you're just adding to that resume, and I'm loving it. So not only did you find a passion, but it's also like embracing this entrepreneurial spirit. Like, again, you've got the moxie, you got the guts, you've got the
Yeah.
grit. So yeah, I love that. But I do want to ask you, how do you take care of you, and what do you do to like get yourself back up when you experience like mental exhaustion or a creative rut,
Mhm.
or burnout, period?
Yeah. So
Like, who's the hype girl for you?
I'll be honest and say, like, it's like a 50-50 shot here. Most of the time I don't. Like, it is what it is. And I know I
Yeah.
have to be better about it. So it's something that I am actively working on. But
Yeah.
I will say it is relatively okay. Like, I want to make that very clear. It is relatively okay because only you as an individual know your limits. But it's just, I'm just so passionate about what I do that's like, I don't mind like not sleeping. Like, I don't, I need my sleep now. Like, I'm one of
Right.
those people that like, I need to go to bed at like 9 o'clock, or I'm gonna be a jackass the next day. That's not gonna work. Like, come on. I'm like, I can't function. But it's just about making sure that what you're doing aligns with you. And when
Mhm.
it aligns with you, and like things will just automatically start to fall into place, and like you don't mind losing that sleep.
Yeah.
So taking care of myself is like a but
Yeah.
as far as how do I keep going, I would say it's like two like massive things. Is one is like scheduling cries. Like, you gotta do it sometimes. You got to. Like,
Okay.
literally, like, if I know, like, like, I'll feel it. Like, I'll know, like, I'm like, damn, like, I'm on the verge of like a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Like, I know this. And so if I
Mhm.
don't get this cry out, I'm not gonna survive. And like, even like a few weeks back, I was like, yep, it's about that time. We're gonna go ahead and have to do this. Like, and so it's just,
Yeah.
for me, it's not weakness. Like, that's not how I see it. I see it as expressing my emotion, because if I don't express it this way, like, it's just gonna stay there, and it's gonna sit on my chest. It's gonna sit on my soul. And like, what can I do with that? Like, at least if I like cry, like, it gets ugly. Like, and so
Yeah.
you just have that moment of you literally just express yourself, for lack of
Yeah.
like better words, where you just let it out and you allow yourself that space. Like, I think that's like the best way that I take care of myself, is like recognizing when I'm on the verge of a mental breakdown, and then allowing myself to have it. Because I
Wow.
feel like a lot of times as women, women of color, women who are like single parents. Not that I'm a single parent or a parent for that matter. I got a dog, but like, that's it. But
Yeah.
I feel like as the caregiver in general, we feel the need to always have it together, always be composed, always be on our shit. And the reality is like, nah, like, that's not a thing. That's not sustainable. That's not reality. So allow yourself to feel when you feel, versus brushing it under the rug. Like, even like, I think it's hella toxic when you are experiencing things, you're like, oh, I'm gonna work through it. I'm gonna bury myself in work, or I'm gonna distract myself through this, that, and the third. Like, I even had a conversation with my mom, and she was telling me that. I was like, no, that's not healthy. I don't want to do that, but I am
Yeah.
doing that. I don't. But it's when you know you're about to have that moment, you recognize it and you just allow it to happen. And I mean, I always feel better when I let that go,
Yeah.
because it's not like it won't be like I scheduled to cry to cry about like one thing. Like, when you have that kind of moment, you're just like, let it all out,
Yeah.
let it all go. Like, let yourself feel whatever you're feeling in that moment, and you give yourself the time, you give yourself the space, and then it's easier to pick yourself back up and continue to go. And then, because you're like, okay, like, I cried. All right,
Yes. And
like, wow.
I mean, you said everything perfectly. And that's honestly what a lot of people are afraid of doing, is facing your emotions, facing all of those feelings and accepting them, but also be willing to let them go. Most people stay
Mhm.
stuck on that like feeling, and like stuck and just like in that. But you were like, no, I'm going to channel this to like let it out and fuel that fire to keep going. Like, you see that goal, like you see that light at the end of the tunnel. But no, that's beautiful. Honestly, that just like gave me like flashbacks of just for years, I wouldn't let myself cry about certain things. And if you don't let those things out, if you keep those things in your body, just like stress, your body's going to channel that in an ugly way, mentally,
Yes, I
physically,
agree.
all that jazz. So, thank you for that brutal honesty
Here's the
because
second piece, though. So the crying is what
yes,
you do on your own. The second
yeah,
piece, though, it is critical who you surround yourself with. Now, I love my friends dearly. They are my world. I would not trade them for anything, but they are not entrepreneurs. So
mm,
they literally do not understand what I'm going through. So
mm,
if it's not a cry, it's my mentor. Like
oh,
she has
okay.
been the world to me because it's
Mm,
when you have those moments where you're like, fuck, like, can I even do this anymore? Like, if I
right.
don't like look to her or speak to her, like, then I really will feel like I can't do it. But I admire her so much that I'll look at her, but man, no, fuck this. Like, if she can do it,
Yeah.
I know I can do it. Or like
Yeah.
she will like gas me up like no other. And I'm like,
Yes.
yes, thank you.
Okay.
You didn't know I need to hear that today, but like, thank you for saying that today. Cause like, thanks. But it's really about like who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And if anybody out there, like if you're going on an entrepreneur journey, your friends and your family, they are incredible. Do not discount them. But when it comes to like, say, like venting about your business or venting about like what you want to do next, those are the last people you need to talk to. Literally the
Yeah.
last. Because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't, and that's not their fault because that's not their job. That's not what they do. That's not their role. They're there to
Yeah.
help you and support you with other aspects of your life. But when it comes to that, they literally just can't. So if they
Mhm.
don't like, if they can't support you in that way, and they're not like understanding where you're coming from, like you got to find a mentor. You got to find or talk to a friend that is an entrepreneur. Like find
Yep.
entrepreneur friends. Like network. Let them
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
know like what you're going through for real.
Daphne, that was amazing and like 100% the truth. Like you made an emphasis on having those friends and family and that kind of community, but within your community of support is, like you said, people on that same pathway. So like entrepreneurs, other fitness junkies, other women, that know the struggle. So again, thank you so much for just letting us get to know you and really truly seeing how you can ignite and be a catalyst for change and how it can work for you and how you can work for it. I think I see a lot of really great things in your future, and I hope that I can pick your brain some more in the future as
Yeah,
well.
of
But
course.
if folks want to hit you up about anything that you've talked
Yeah.
about your entrepreneurial spirit and your background, and maybe things in the future, where can they reach you at?
Yeah, so to clarify, so I am a personal trainer. I am
Mhm.
an indoor cycling instructor. I am a business coach. So if you're looking for somebody along your entrepreneurial journey to like poke you and prod you along, I do that as well. And then I'm also in the process of like managing an apparel line. So to
Oh,
clarify, yeah, all you said I'm doing all things, I'm doing all things. So if you want to contact me about any of those things or just follow me along my journey, you can follow me on Instagram at DAP. So DAP like Dap Me Up, like short. So
oh,
Dap underscore Adebayo. A is an apple, D is an dog, E is an elephant, B is an boy, A is an apple, Y is an Yankee, O is an orange. So if you find me there, I will follow you back. And don't be a stranger. DM me. I love to like grow my community. I love to know what other people are doing. So don't be afraid to reach out.
awesome. Thank you so much. And it was really good catching up with you.
Yes,
We got to do some more
definitely.
offline. But yeah, thanks again. And I hope that you have a fantastic week.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah,
I appreciate you having me.
of course. Bye.
Bye.